So what's good, TMG fan? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy L, man. How y'all feeling? Welcome back. So listen, man, happy Halloween for all of you guys that celebrate Halloween. For those of you who don't, just keep going. Just wait till we get to the video, all right? Just make sure y'all be safe, man. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of crazy people out here. They do devilish things. We know Halloween, the kids enjoy it because of the candy, but certain people still are just crazy, satanic lunatics, man, whatever you want to call them. So just keep it safe, you know what I mean? And now that I got that out of the way, man, the next video we're getting into, man, is the 3 true scary Halloween stories. Shout outs to Mr. Nightmare. You know he be coming through with the stories, man. He always put true in there. And I don't be knowing if they true or not. Some of them do be feeling like they absolutely true. You know what I mean? So I don't know, man. But their stories be great, though. That's one thing I can say. All right, so if you're new to the channel and you ain't never heard one of these videos, man, prepare yourself. This is about to be good. Subscribe, too. Make sure. And make sure if you are subscribed, make sure you still subscribe. And get a video a like at the end. All right, here we go.
Halloween used to be one of my favorite holidays. Now I kinda just enjoy it when I have a decent party to go to. In 2018, when I was a senior in college, my friend Tracy's sorority was going to be throwing a big Halloween party at the sorority house. She said I could bring one friend since they didn't want too many outsiders at the party, so I invited my best friend Cody. We're very last minute people when it comes to Halloween costumes. The party was that night and we didn't have anything. Cody was working late, so he'd have to meet me right before the party. So he asked me to get a costume for him, and he just Venmoed me the money. I ran to the nearby Spirit Halloween store that opened up like 5 minutes from my house. I was just shotgunning it. I picked a Where's Waldo costume for myself, and a Superman costume for Cody. Both 2 of the cheaper costumes they had. Everything was normal, till I got to the cashier. I was on the phone with Cody, telling him about the costume I got him, and giving him details about the party. I told him which sorority it was, that Tracy got us the invite, gave him the address, and then he convinced me to pick him up instead of us just meeting, stuff like that. All this was said as the cashier was watching me. He was some guy who was decently older than me, but
probably not only watching you, probably listening as well. You gotta be more, people, make sure y'all mindful of that too, man. People be eavesdropping on your conversations, then they get your location and whereabouts for the night, where you're gonna be at, and that's how they figure out and get the drop on you. We gotta be more mindful, not so careless about how we put our location out there or how we talk out loud, because people be listening, man. I just caught that. That could completely have nothing to do with the story, but that's just a little tidbit, you know what I'm saying, I caught up on. Snapple fact, for real.
Said as the cashier was watching me. He was some guy who was decently older than me, but because of his receding hairline, I couldn't put a gauge on it as to whether he was in his 30s or low 40s. He wore glasses though, and had a skinny-ish build and an awkward presence. As he rang up the 2 costumes, he had a comment something along the lines of, "Sounds like you have a fun party tonight, huh?" I chuckled and said yeah. Then he started asking more details, like if it's open invite, and had a comment about there being lots of girls. I said it's closed invite and that I barely got an invite. He said it's all good. Then he shook my hand and introduced himself as Mike, so I did the same and told him my name was Sean, and I left. It was weird. Fast forward to later that night. I picked up Cody and we arrived to the party around 10 p.m. It sounded loud inside, and there were multiple groups of people entering the house before us.
Oh, and you gave this fool your name. Oh my gosh, if he show up here and say, what you say your name? Mike, I think it was? Or whatever you said your name was, he gonna say you invited him.
It sounded loud inside, and there were multiple groups of people entering the house before us. At the door, a girl asked us who we knew there, and I told her Tracy. She let us in, and we were in this huge living room area. Music blasting, all the lights dimmed low, Halloween decorations everywhere, and to top it off, people with red cups full of booze crowding the place. We saw Tracy and hung around her for a while. We played beer pong and other drinking games. It was a very legit party. But then, at some point, there was a commotion by the front door area. Cody, Tracy, and I and a few others walked over, and the girl at the door started calling out, "Where's Tracy?" She came forward, and the girl asked, "Who is Sean?" I said, "I am." Then she asked me who that creepy guy we invited was. I was confused and said, "Who?" She described some older-looking man in a cowboy costume with a fake mustache. He apparently inappropriately touched one of the girls, trying to get her into a separate room, and she screamed for help. Then he took off with something in his pocket. None of the guys chased after him or anything. Immediately, I thought of the cashier from Spirit Halloween. I told them about it, and everyone got even more creeped out. The party went on, but they were a lot more cautious about who they were letting in. They even considered calling the cops for a second. That whole thing really killed my vibe, and we didn't stay much longer after that. In total, we were probably at the party for a couple hours at most. We left a little past midnight, I think. I didn't drink much. As I started my car, the car parked like 2 cars behind us also turned on, and as I drove in the direction of Cody's house, the car started to follow. Cody and I were sure it had to be him after it made 4 of the same turns, so I pulled to the side of the road, egging him on to pull over, but the car just stopped for a few seconds, then basically floored it past us. We didn't get a good look at who was inside, but I'm still positive it was him. After dropping off Cody down the block from his house, just being cautious, I was staying very aware of my surroundings, and because of that, I noticed a car in the near distance with its lights off, tailing me. It looked like the same car. I got to a main road, once again pulled over, and waited. The car once again waited, and then a few seconds later turned on its lights and floored it in the far left lane, passing me. I was obviously shook, and drove home as fast as I could while I was sure I wasn't being followed. I called that Spirit Halloween location the next day and reported the cashier. They thanked me for the information, but I never went back there, so I wouldn't know if he was fired or anything. Looking back, I wonder if I could have and should have pressed charges. Regardless, I have no idea what he could have possibly wanted from me. But either way, I'm happy he didn't find out where I live.
Who says he didn't? I ain't never heard of a set of people that just made a bunch of dumb moves. Like I can't even process it in my brain, bro. He shows up to the party. You figure out it's him. You don't report it. Okay. Everybody's on high alert now. You don't drink, which I commend you for now because you want to stay alert. Cool. You get ready to leave to go home, take your friend home, and you notice somebody's following you. Again, you do nothing. You don't report it. You don't try to make him follow you to the police station. You don't get a good look at the tag. You don't get a good look at who's inside. You pull over, he speed, and he go. You take your friend home. You leave your friend home. You notice him again. Again, this time pulling behind you with no lights on. What did you think his intentions was, bruh? Like, I don't know if it's this generation, because I don't know what generation this is, because this story could have been older, it could have been newer. It kind of makes me think it's old, because who on earth would still get a Where's Waldo's costume? I don't even think the newer generation knows who Where's Waldo is, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, like several things that could have ended your life that night. You made several rookie mistakes, bro. Several rookie mistakes. I'm surprised you're still alive. And who's to say he didn't follow you home? You don't know. Like, we stop feeling like you too scared to report something, man. Report it, bro. It could be, you know what I'm saying? Whether or not, it could come down to whether or not you live or die. You reporting something or not reporting something. You know what I'm saying? Like that's that story right there. And I told y'all, man, it felt like he was listening. People be listening in on your conversations, bro. Sitting right there at the counter. Then you gave him your name. And he showed up. Inappropriately touching a girl. And he took something. Yeah. But he was on one that night. It's crazy.
Halloween of 2019 was the most terrifying night of my life. I live in Australia, and because we don't celebrate Halloween as enthusiastically, we don't get as many trick-or-treaters, around 5 or 6 people at most. I am personally a huge fan of Halloween though, to the dismay of my parents who would prefer not to acknowledge it. Obviously that leaves me in charge of putting up decorations and handing out candy. This particular year, Halloween fell on a school night and a storm began just after 6 o'clock, which unfortunately meant my efforts preparing the decorations had pretty much gone to waste. Ignoring my better judgment, I still waited for trick-or-treaters in the living room and watched The Conjuring to pass the time. Around an hour and a half later, I got a message from my friend M on our group chat, asking if anyone would like to mess around and go trick-or-treating. At first I was confused. We hadn't gone trick-or-treating in over 5 years, but I decided it would make the night more enjoyable as nobody was knocking on the door anyway. My other friends, who I'll call S, C, and H, all agreed and asked M where we should meet up. M quickly replied he couldn't make it, which was strange because he was the one who offered to go trick-or-treating, but he suggested a house which has lots of candy. Me, S, C, and H all arrived at the house within half an hour. A large table with a pumpkin bowl filled with lollipops stood at the front porch, and after checking the windows to make sure we weren't being watched, we emptied the bowl between us, only leaving a few to avoid suspicion. As we turned around to leave, we were greeted by 2 men dressed as clowns approaching us up the driveway. They had huge painted smiles and tilted heads.
I forgot about the clowns, man. Halloween always bring out the idiots in the clown suits, bro.
I could tell we were all creeped out, and one of my friends screamed as they started bolting towards us, one squeaking its rubber nose as they chased. After running for what felt like an eternity, we finally lost them. We decided to go to M's house so we could discuss what just happened in a safe area. However, when M answered the door, he burst into laughter. "What the hell are you guys doing?" he said, confused. "You told us to go trick-or-treating. Can you just let us inside?" S replied. After sitting down on M's couch, we all soon realized M had lost his phone earlier that day, and a stranger had suggested the idea of going to that house, presumably some sort of trap for the clowns. After another half hour, I cautiously made it home by 9:30, finished my movie, and went outside to collect the candy bowl I set up. I was shocked to see the bowl was completely empty. However, my stomach turned when I saw a clown nose was now laying inside of it. I told my parents everything that happened, and showed them the clown nose that had been left at our house. They assured me it was just some Halloween prank. I woke up around 1 a.m. to noises coming from my bedroom window, like rocks hitting the glass. Although I was scared half to death, my curiosity got...
Would y'all have went to that window? Hell no. I'm not going to that window, bro. Because you already know in your mind what it is. But it's something in you, something that you possess that's going to make you want to go see. It's going to eat at you and eat at you inside, make you want to go see, bro.
Got the better of me. I eventually opened the blinds. My Halloween decorations were destroyed and littered the ground below. I stared motionless in complete shock until a lollipop was thrown at the window, breaking my trance. I looked up and saw them, the 2 clowns perched upon the neighbor's roof, looking down at me. I screamed and ran away towards my parents' room. I'll skip the details that followed, but the police were called and the clowns were not found. The officers informed us they would check out the house my friends and I trick-or-treated at, and they left in about half an hour. The following morning, we were told the house was abandoned, and M's phone was discovered inside. That day at school, I learned M, S, C, and H all had creepy experiences during the night as well. I'm not sure if the clowns followed us home or they somehow tracked us through M's phone. All I know is that Halloween is only a few weeks away, and I am completely terrified they'll return.
See, that could have easily been me as a kid. Halloween used to come around when I was a kid, bro. What? My grandma, I used to stay with my grandma a lot, so she let me go out. I'm supposed to go out in the neighborhood, but we always jump the fence and go to other places, man. And that could have easily been us. We was always going out to on different dark streets where it's only probably one house and a dead end and abandoned houses and this big field and different things like that. People throwing eggs, running from people, having like. That could have easily been me, bro. I recognize that could have easily been us, man. Oh, bro, that's crazy. I mention I hate these people with these clown suits? I hate y'all, man.
It was a stormy Halloween night. I was with my 3 friends, John, Mary, and Keenan. Since we didn't have any real plans and were kind of just hanging around, I decided to grab the Ouija board from my closet.
Will they please discontinue that thing? Whoever came up with the Ouija board, bro, ain't nothing good. Can they please just discontinue? I might need to start a petition, man. So sick of hearing Ouija boards.
And we're kind of just hanging around. I decided to grab the Ouija board from my closet. All my friends were down to try it. I wanted to be funny, but also set the mood, so I got 3 candles, lit them, and turned off all the lights. The 4 of us sat at the table with our hands on the planchette. We started off by saying, "Is anyone there?" Of course, the planchette started to move, and we all started to laugh. It went from Y to E to S, spelling yes. John and I began asking the really stupid, goofy questions, like, "Will you haunt Mary?" And she kept begging us to stop. But as the planchette moved to once again spell out the word yes, we all erupted into laughter. To be honest, I didn't even contribute to moving the piece around the board. I just assumed John and Keenan were messing around for the most part. Then, without anyone asking a question, the planchette started moving to spell the words, "I'm inside the house." More laughs, until there was a huge, very obvious thump sound from directly upstairs, like right over our heads. It most closely resembled a boot stomping on the floor. All of us jumped. Mary started screaming and freaking out. John, Keenan, and I didn't know whether to laugh or be freaked out.
That's when you'd be like, my mom's calling, I'm gonna go home. I'm going home.
My parents weren't home. No one was except for me. We don't have any pets. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. We looked at each other. Then I went to look through the peephole. I opened the door. It was a dad and his young son trick-or-treating under an umbrella. I opened the door and handed the kid some candies.
He wouldn't have got no candy that day. Not when I just heard thumping upstairs. My doorbell automatically rings, bro. You'd have had to go to the next house. Ain't nothing. God himself would have had to show up in order for me to open that door, and I still wouldn't have opened it for him. You know what I'm saying? I'm not open. What? No.
Trick-or-treating under an umbrella. I opened the door and handed the kid some candies. But once I shut the door, it was back to the current reality of the situation, which was figuring out what the hell that sound was. I convinced all 3 of them to come upstairs with me just to check. We all got to the upstairs hallway. All that was on was a nightlight plugged into the floor outlet. We were halfway through the hallway, approaching my parents' bedroom, which was the room directly above the table we were sitting at, where we heard the noise. That's when we all heard the same thing. It was this voice of a girl. What was said, none of us could hear it, but all 4 of us agreed we heard the voice of a girl in my parents' room, followed by the sound of something being dropped on the floor. Mary and Keenan ran down the stairs, freaked out, but not making a peep. John and I, however, approached the door. I opened it quietly and pushed it open slowly. I looked into the dark room, and I saw something tall standing in the far corner of the room. I slammed the door shut, and we ran down the stairs. We stayed in the living room and flicked on the lights, and then noticed one of the candles by the Ouija board was blown out. I called the cops, and a few minutes later, when an officer arrived, I asked him to check my parents' bedroom. I led him up the stairs and pointed at the door. He knocked on it and announced police, then opened the door quickly and flicked on the light. He checked the closet, under the bed, nothing. That's when we followed and entered the room as well, and I could confirm no one was in there. While we were at it, we checked every single bedroom and bathroom up there. There was not a single possible place anybody could be hiding. After the police officer left, we threw the Ouija board in the neighbor's garbage, and we all sat under the awning in my backyard, listening to the storm in silence until my parents returned. After telling the story to my parents together, eventually my friends left. My parents seemed to believe us, but what could they really do? I didn't sleep too well that night, and obviously I have no plans of using a Ouija board ever again.
Have any of y'all ever done the whole Ouija board sit down seance type of thing, man? I can remember as a teenager doing it once, and I was done with it, bro. Like, you want to tell yourself, oh, it's us that's moving it, but it's something in the back of your mind that's saying, are we really moving it? You know what I'm saying? Nah. I had to leave that note. That wasn't for me, bro. That wasn't for me at all, man. Hey, used to hear kids come back to school telling all kind of crazy stories about Ouija boards, man. I was like, nah, it's not for the kid, not for me at all. But y'all get at me in the comment section, man. Let me know what y'all think. Leave a like, share the video, subscribe, and stick around and stay tuned to the next reaction of my piece. Y'all stay solid. Hey.